let's define EJK as something that I have never used from the very beginning because EJK does not exist in the Philippines. Why so? Both in international and local definitions. In the international definitions, the key word of EJK is judicial killing. Judicial killing means death penalty. Since our country does not have any death penalty, then definitely there's no judicial killing. Definitely there's no extrajudicial killing. It may not, you may want to say that it's semantics. It's not just semantics. Because the use of the word EJK has an emotional meaning. If you go to the Western countries who uphold human rights to the best of their ability, the use of EJK is an emotional term for them. It agitates them. The more you use EJK, the more it agitates them. It's like saying the American Negro. If you say an American, you're a Negro, it agitates him. But if you say an American, you're a black man, it does not agitate him. But that's why the terminology is very critical to us. That's why we never, and I've already encouraged all government agencies, never to use EJK in all their media and all their communication. Second, when we talk about local definition, it's already espoused in DOJ Administrative Order number 35. It defines there that EJK or extralegal killing is only existent if it involves a member of an advocacy group, an advocate of that advocacy group, if the personality killed is a media man, and if it's a mistaken identity. And the critical part, if it becomes a human rights violation, is the perpetrator. The perpetrator must always be the state agent. When you say the state agent, it's the president until the barangay tanod. They're the only ones who commit human rights violation. Why? Because it's the state who signed the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights. It's the state who signed the 2 international conventions on political and civil rights and economic, cultural, and social rights. So it's only the state who violates it. Now, aside from the perpetrator, you also look at the motive. So if it's the policeman who kills a criminal or a pusher with the motive of covering up criminal or his or her criminal activities, that's also not a human rights violation. Because not only is the perpetrator critical, the motive must also be critical. So if we're talking about policemen killing drug users or pushers so that they can cover past criminal activities, that is not considered a human rights violation. So again, critical, the perpetrator and the motive. So do we have human rights violation in the Philippines? No country in the world is exempt from human rights violation. The only critical question there is it systematic, organized, and massive. So the Department of Interior and local government made an independent human rights probe together in coordination with the Philippine National Police, and we discovered that 23 of the 25 cases that we've investigated independently says that the police report is the same as the report that we gathered from our independent investigation. 92%. Only 2 did not match the report versus the actual investigation. Now, is there a massive human rights violation? I don't think so. Now, comparing, having standards, we've looked at the last 6 months of the anti-illegal drugs operations of the Aquino administration. For the last 6 months, from January to June 30, 2016, there were around 3,200 anti-illegal drugs operations by the PNP. Total killed, from total deaths under those police operations, 129, close to 4.9%. We've investigated total police operations on anti-illegal drugs from the July 1 until September 30. From the 2,700 in the last 6 months of President Aquino's term, there were close to 31,000 anti-illegal drugs operations for the first 3 months of the Duterte administration. Deaths under police operations, 1,665 at that time, 5.3%, close to the 5%. Is it alarming? No. Even as of this date, if looking at the new numbers, 2,692 over 53,603, from the 5.3 in the first 3 months, now it's down to exactly 5.03%. Is it massive? No. Again, we have to create standards. Had our report and investigation in the comparison of deaths went up to 7, 8, or even 10%, that could have been alarming. But the past standard and the present standard are the same. The absolute number is just different because in the past, there were only less anti-illegal drugs operations compared to today, which is already close to 20 times in the last 6 months of the Pinoy administration. That's why I could say, as a human rights defender myself, trained by the Task Force Detainees of the Philippines more than 20 years ago, there could have not been a systematic, organized, and massive human rights violation as of today under the Duterte administration. Second, why is the anti-drug operations successful today? In the past, we were always looking at the papers, 1 billion worth of shabu, captured, confiscated, 500 million, 3 billion for the 2050 for the past 20 years. Why is there no impact in the drug situation in the Philippines? Because whenever you catch a supplier, they will only be replaced by another supplier. Why? Because the Philippines has the market. For an industry to thrive, business for that matter, in any country, 3 things must be present. You should have supply, you should have demand, which is the market, and you should have the distribution channel. This was presented a while ago in one of the slides. If you look at the slides, the importance of the slide tells you that government, from the time of President Duterte, we were able to cut supply by close to 15%. Very significant. We were able to cut demand by 26%. That's the 1.2 million surrenders who says, we do not want to take drugs anymore. And most importantly, the most important portion of a successful venture in a country is the distribution channel, which the present administration was able to cut. They were able to make 88,000 drug pushers to stop selling drugs. And this is the reason there's a problem right now vis-a-vis the illegal drugs trade on the distribution side. And most probably the killings are amongst drug lords because they want territories to be unified because of the absence of distribution channels. And the result, crime rate down by 28.5%. Very significant. Now, why is this very important to the economy? As a practitioner of business and economics, this is very important. That's why if you look at the socio-economic program of the government, it's 0 plus 10. What's the 0? The 0 is the foundation for economic growth. What's the foundation for the economic growth? Peace and order. For the last 6 years, only the rich became richer and the poor remained poor. Because it's only the rich who can buy security. It's only the rich who can buy safety. What has happened? In 2010, there were only 4 Filipinos in the Forbes billionaires list. By the end of 2015, there were already 14 Filipinos in the Forbes billionaires list. They can buy security, they can buy safety, business to them can thrive. How about the poor? From 2010 to 2015, the average poverty incidence only ranged between 22 to 27%. Nothing more, nothing less. That's why it's very important that we be successful in the foundation of economic growth, which is peace and order and security. That's why the ultimate target by 2022 of the Duterte administration is to bring down poverty incidence from 22% to 14%. The backbone of our economy is now with the poor. What is our actual experience down the ground? Bumabomba kami sa Region 10, Region 11. Ano sabi sa amin ng mga tao? Sir, we are very happy right now because our children, even during nighttime, can already go out and play. Before, we cannot do that because there are a lot of drug addicts and criminals around. Today, there are people now selling, doing business, doing small things like fishbowl, tindahan, because there are no criminals to disturb them. Very critical for a jumping of the growth of the country is the peace and order to make the poor thrive into business, and for those who does the job can go to work and to their home safely. Only 2,200 of the 80% wealth of the country is being controlled by these 2,200 families. 2,200 families controlling 80% of the country's wealth. What we want to do is, if we really want to jump economically, we have to make the people downstairs, the poor, those in the poverty rate, to go to business. They have the money. They just need to be secured when they do business. That's why it's very important that this drug menace can be stopped in the next 5 years.
Thank you, Asik.